larger landscape bustling with human activity. And here, on the nearby headland, an ongoing excavation has revealed so much more about this.
When archaeologists started digging beneath a Scottish school, they expected to find nothing more than dirt and rocks. Instead, they uncovered something that would completely change how we think about ancient Scotland. A massive 6,000-year-old structure that's older than Stonehenge itself. What they found buried beneath those football pitches is so shocking that it's forcing experts to rewrite history books. This discovery reveals secrets about our ancestors that no one saw coming, and the truth about what these ancient people were capable of building will absolutely blow your mind. The evidence they uncovered tells a story that archaeologists are still struggling to believe. The unexpected discovery. Workers arrive at Carnoustie High School in Scotland expecting a routine construction job. They were hired to build new football pitches for the students. A straightforward project that should have taken just a few weeks. But when their shovels hit something hard beneath the soil, everything changes. Instead of finding rocks or old pipes, they discover something that definitely shouldn't be there. This is when archaeologists are called in, and what they find is absolutely shocking. Deep beneath what was supposed to become a sports field, they discover wooden posts, massive timber posts that have been hiding underground for thousands of years. But these aren't just random pieces of old wood. They're arranged in a very specific pattern, forming the outline of something huge. The team realizes they've stumbled upon something incredible. This isn't just any old building foundation. The size alone is mind-blowing. We're talking about a structure that's 35 meters long and 9 meters wide. That's longer than 3 school buses lined up end to end. And it's been sitting there, completely hidden, for over 6,000 years. The wooden posts are perfectly preserved, protected by the Scottish soil for millennia. Each post is positioned with mathematical precision, creating a rectangular outline that shows incredible planning and measurement skills. The spacing between posts is exact, suggesting the builders use some kind of standardized measurement system that archaeologists are still trying to understand. Alan Hunter Blair, the archaeologist leading the dig, can barely contain his excitement. He knows immediately that this discovery is going to shock the archaeological world. The timber posts are made of oak, and they're arranged in pairs, supporting what must have been an enormous roof. But the real shocker? This massive ancient structure predates Stonehenge by hundreds of years. The oak itself tells an incredible story. These trees would have been massive when they were cut down 6,000 years ago. Growing oak trees to this size requires hundreds of years, meaning the builders were using timber from trees that started growing long before their own grandparents were born. The decision to use such ancient valuable wood shows how important this structure was to their community. What makes this discovery even more incredible is where it was found. Nobody expected to find something this significant beneath a school. Usually, major archaeological discoveries happen in places where people are specifically looking for ancient remains. But here, in the middle of a planned sports facility, lies one of Scotland's most important archaeological finds. The preservation is shocking too. Normally, wooden structures from this time period would have rotted away completely, but the specific soil conditions at this site created a perfect environment for preservation. The timber posts are so well preserved that archaeologists can still see tool marks from the stone axes that cut them 6,000 years ago. The construction project immediately stops. This discovery is too important to bulldoze over for a football pitch. The archaeologists know they've found something that could rewrite the history books about early Scottish civilization. Dating the impossible. When the archaeologists start dating the wooden remains, The results are almost too incredible to believe. The structure dates back to around 4000 BC. That's roughly 6,000 years ago. This is shocking because it means this massive ancient structure was built during the early Neolithic period, when most people think ancient humans were still living simple lives. The dating process itself reveals shocking details. Using advanced carbon dating techniques, scientists can pinpoint not just when the trees were cut down, but even what season they were harvested in. The evidence suggests the oak trees were felled in late autumn or winter, showing that these ancient people planned their construction projects with incredible precision. But here's what makes archaeologists truly shocked. This discovery proves that our ancestors were far more advanced than we ever imagined. Building a structure this large required incredible planning, teamwork, and construction skills. We're not talking about a simple hut or shelter. This was a massive, sophisticated building that required master carpenters and engineers. The dating also reveals something else that's completely mind-blowing. This Neolithic hall is older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, and older than almost every other famous ancient structure we know about. While people around the world were still figuring out basic farming, the people in Scotland were already building monuments that rival anything we see today. When archaeologists compare this discovery to other sites around the world from the same time period, the results are shocking. Most other cultures from 4000 BC were building simple shelters or basic farming settlements. But Scotland's early farmers were creating architectural masterpieces that wouldn't look out of place in a modern construction manual. The oak timber used in construction tells its own incredible story. Trees this large would have taken centuries to grow, and cutting them down would have required stone tools and incredible human effort. Moving these massive logs into position would have needed dozens, maybe hundreds of people working together. This wasn't a small family project. This was a massive community effort. Carbon dating confirms what the archaeologists suspected, but almost couldn't believe. This structure was built around the time that farming was first being introduced to Scotland. The people who built this weren't just learning to grow crops. They were simultaneously creating one of the most impressive buildings of their time. The discovery forces archaeologists to completely rethink what they know about Neolithic Scotland. Before this find, most experts believed that early Scottish farmers lived in small, simple communities. But this massive 6,000-year-old ancient structure proves that these early people were capable of incredible feats of engineering and organization. The builder's mystery. Who exactly built this massive ancient structure? This question is shocking archaeologists around the world. The people who constructed this incredible hall were part of Scotland's very first farming communities, but they were clearly much more advanced than anyone realized. These weren't the primitive cave dwellers that many people imagine when they think about humans from 6,000 years ago. These were sophisticated people with incredible skills. Building a structure this large required knowledge of engineering, mathematics, and construction techniques that we didn't think existed in Scotland at that time. The builders had to understand how to work with massive oak timbers, how to create joints that would hold for thousands of years, and how to design a roof that could span such an enormous space. They needed to know about load-bearing, structural integrity, and weather resistance. These were master builders, and their work was so good that traces of it survived for 6,000 years underground. But here's what's really shocking. These builders were part of a culture that was just transitioning from hunting and gathering to farming. They were literally among the first people in Scotland to plant crops and domesticate animals. Yet somehow, at the same time, they were learning to farm, they were also creating architectural masterpieces. The construction would have required incredible coordination. Imagine organizing hundreds of people to cut down massive oak trees, transport them to the building site, and then carefully position them according to a complex plan. There was no machinery, no modern tools, just stone axes, human muscle, and brilliant planning. Archaeological evidence suggests these builders came from different parts of Scotland. Artifacts found at the site include materials from the Scottish Highlands and from Arran, an island off the coast. This means people travelled from far away to help build this structure, or at least to participate in whatever happened inside it. Architecture that defies time. The architectural details of this Neolithic hall are absolutely shocking. When archaeologists examined the remains more closely, they discovered construction techniques that seem almost impossible for people living 6,000 years ago. The building wasn't just big, it was ingeniously designed. The hall measures 35 meters long and 9 meters wide, making it truly massive by ancient standards. But size isn't the only impressive thing about it. The builders created opposed doorways near one end of the building, meaning there were two doors facing each other. This design choice shows incredible planning and understanding of how people would move through the space. The roof structure is what really shocks modern archaeologists. To span such a huge space, the builders used paired, massive timber posts that supported an enormous roof. Creating a roof that could cover this much area without collapsing required an advanced understanding of weight distribution and structural engineering. Remember, these individuals didn't have access to modern mathematics or engineering textbooks. They figured this out through experience and ingenuity. The oak timbers were carefully selected and positioned. Oak is incredibly strong and resistant to decay, which explains how evidence of this structure survived underground for thousands of years. But working with oak using only stone tools would have been incredibly difficult. Each timber had to be cut, shaped, and fitted with precision that rivals modern construction. What's particularly shocking is how sophisticated the joinery must have been. The massive timber posts had to connect perfectly to support the roof structure. Any mistake in measurement or cutting could have caused the entire building to collapse. Yet this structure stood for potentially hundreds of years before it was eventually abandoned. Archaeologists believe the building was elevated and prominent in the landscape. This means it wasn't hidden away. It was meant to be seen from far distances. The builders wanted this massive ancient structure to be a landmark that people could spot from miles away. This discovery is forcing experts to completely revise their understanding of what these ancient people were capable of achieving. The companion structure secret. Just when archaeologists thought the discovery couldn't get any more shocking, they found something else buried nearby, a second, smaller hall that reveals even more secrets about this ancient site. Finding one Neolithic hall this large would have been incredible enough, but discovering two buildings together is practically unheard of. The companion building measures 20 meters long and more than 8 meters wide. While smaller than the main hall, it's still enormous by ancient standards. Having two massive structures at the same site tells us something shocking about the people who built them. They were creating something much more complex than a simple meeting place. What's truly incredible is that both buildings were constructed using the same advanced techniques. The smaller hall also features the sophisticated timber construction and careful planning that make the main structure so impressive. This wasn't a case where one building was expertly made and the other was thrown together quickly. Both structures show the same level of skill and attention to detail. Archaeological evidence suggests that having two halls together was extremely rare in Neolithic Scotland. Most sites from this period have only one main building, if any. The fact that this community built two massive structures shows they had resources, manpower, and organizational skills that far exceeded their neighbors. The discovery of the companion structure also provides more clues about what these buildings were used for. With two large halls, this site could have accommodated much larger gatherings than previously thought possible. We're talking about events that could have brought together hundreds of people from across Scotland. This shocking revelation that there were actually two massive ancient structures at this site is making archaeologists completely rethink what they know about Neolithic Scottish society. These weren't simple farmers building basic shelters. These were sophisticated people creating complex architectural arrangements that rival anything from their time period. Artifacts that tell amazing stories. The artifacts discovered around these massive ancient structures are absolutely shocking, and they tell us incredible stories about the people who built them. These aren't just random pieces of pottery or broken tools, they're treasures that traveled from across Scotland and beyond to reach this special place. One of the most shocking discoveries is a gold-decorated Celtic spearhead. Finding gold artifacts from this time period is extremely rare, and it shows that whoever used this site had access to precious materials and skilled craftspeople. The spearhead isn't just functional, it's beautiful, decorated with intricate patterns that would have taken a master craftsman considerable time to create. Even more incredible is the discovery of an extremely well-preserved late Bronze Age wooden leather scabbard. Archaeologists say it's among the best preserved examples found anywhere in Britain. Organic materials like wood and leather usually decay completely after thousands of years, so finding one in such good condition is truly shocking. But here's what's really amazing about these artifacts. They didn't all come from the local area. Fragments of Arran pitchstone were found at the site, and Arran is an island off the Scottish coast. Someone had to travel a considerable distance to bring this material to the hall, or people from Arran came here specifically to participate in whatever happened at this site. An axe made of garnet albite schist was also discovered, along with a piece of smoky quartz from the Scottish Highlands. These materials came from hundreds of miles away. In an age when most people probably never traveled more than a few miles from where they were born, these artifacts represent incredible journeys. The presence of materials from such distant places is shocking because it proves this site was important enough to attract people from across Scotland. This wasn't just a local meeting place, it was a destination that drew visitors from far and wide. The massive 6,000-year-old ancient structure was clearly something special, something worth traveling great distances to visit. Local materials were also found, including agate, quartz, and chalcedony. But the mix of local and distant artifacts tells an incredible story about trade, travel, and the importance of this site to ancient Scottish people. The feast connection. Perhaps the most shocking discovery about this massive ancient structure is what archaeologists believe it was actually used for: enormous feasts and celebrations that brought together Scotland's earliest farming communities. The evidence for this is found in some of the smallest artifacts discovered at the site. Charred cereal grains and hazelnut shells were found scattered around the halls. While these might seem like simple debris, they tell an incredible story about massive gatherings and communal meals. The amount of food remains suggests that hundreds of people regularly came together at this site to eat, celebrate, and socialize. The hazelnut shells are particularly shocking because they provide clues about when these gatherings took place. Hazelnuts ripen in autumn, and archaeologists believe this seasonal timing was crucial. After the harvest season, when farming communities had gathered their crops, they would travel to this site for massive autumn celebrations.